Yo, man, welcome to the motherfucking video. All right. In this video, what I'm gonna do is I want to just talk about a little section in the book that I'm currently reading right now: spirituality, science, the intellect, intuition, right? Even intelligence and intuition, the light and the dark, the good and the bad, as above, so below. You know, it's the polarity of life, the yin and the yang. That's what it is. And so I've recently been learning about this, and I've came across something to where I was able to understand the importance of that middle way, the middle path, because that is the line in the yin and the yang. That's the unification, the marriage. And I've talked about this in other videos before, and I really understood that is the way of becoming a true and whole individual, is bridging both of those paths together, bringing the opposites into union with each other, right? Just wanted to make sure it was recorded. So I'm reading this book right now, The Genius Myth by Michael Meade. And so he's talking about, so it's just crazy because I've been thinking about this literally since the beginning of the year, like February, January, and I was really starting to understand the importance, once again, of bridging the two together, of, you know, the marriage of the masculine and the feminine, right? Like all of that, you can see it in everything and everywhere, the opposites, and then there's that middle point, just like the yin and the yang, the line between the two. And that's what I talked about in my other video with mental alchemy. That's mental alchemy at its core. That's being an alchemist. It's transmuting the energies and making them one, using both sides to move forward, to find the path forward, because there's opposites and they're going to clash, because you can't use one or the other. They are both powerful in different ways. And so it's the unification that creates that third path, that creates the way through. And this is exactly what he's talking about. And so first of all, like, literally the universe, right? Like that word right there, the word that describes everything in existence, the universe, literally means uni, meaning the unification, right? Like the one, right? Oneness is what uni means, to unify, you know, like. And verse or verses literally means the opposite, to turn against each other and be opposed, right? This team versus that team, the universe. And so it's these opposites that are unified, which is, you can see it in everything in existence. You can see it in our own self. You can see it in nature. You can see it in politics. You can see it in literally everything. There is a opposition force. There's two sides to the pole, the polarization, the duality, and what needs to happen is the unification of them, so that way we are able to move forward. And so there was that, right? There's that part that I've been learning about recently and been wanting to understand on a deeper level, that I've really enjoyed learning about. And so the other thing that I, have been dealing with on a great, that I've been battling with, is the age of scientific reasoning that we live in right now, the age of logic and reason that we live in. I mean, like, I, jokingly say to like some of my friends now and people in my family, like, I'm the most anti-science person you'll meet. And, obviously I joke that I know science has its place, but because I say that to people who are overly scientific, people who only see things to believe it, people who only use the facts of life and completely disregard feeling, who only use the intellect and completely disregard intuition, right? But here he gave a really neat understanding, and something that I was really able to deeply resonate with on a deep spiritual level, man, because I've been wanting someone to just articulate this for me, and I finally fucking found it. And that's what's so beautiful about the spiritual journey also, is like when you are thinking about these things, then like the perfect book just fucking manifests in your hand. Like I'm sitting here and I'm reading, and I'm like, I can't believe like how much this aligns with literally the things, the path that I'm on right now. Like I could not read this book 2 years ago. Even if, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? I couldn't read it like a year ago, 2 years ago when I first, it just wouldn't resonate. It wouldn't even make as much sense. But now, where I am in this path and this journey, this book is perfect for me right now. And so it's just funny and interesting how things work out like that. But, excuse me also, bro. I got this goddamn stuffy nose and making me, like, make all these weird noises and stuff. So, anyways, yeah, so he says, the ancient Greeks, amongst others, developed two primary ways of thinking and gathering knowledge about the world. They called them logos and mythos, with both words having the sense of accounting, as in describing or giving an account of what has happened. Both logos and mythos can said to be true, with each presenting a truth of a different order, and that's what's very important, you know, like, each has truth in them. I'm not bashing science and logic and reasoning, but it has its place, and it cannot overrule and take over feeling and intuition and imagination and flow state and creativity, because, and that's the world we fucking live in. It's productivity, it's plan, step by step, like knowing what's going on. Well, this doesn't make sense because the facts don't line up. I'm a facts person, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not thinking logical. Everything's rational. Like we completely disregard, the ocean of imagination where things flow freely and don't have a fucking strict structure and order. Like, I fucking hate that shit. I really do. I'm sorry. I just do. I'm not a structured person, and I'm not like a person who has a step-by-step plan, because I don't even fucking believe in that. I don't believe the world and the universe moves like that. And I am an extension of that. We are an extension of that. And so you have to remember that things are not always supposed to be in a certain place and, okay, this is going to make sense because, this is what I see. It's just like there's a different way forward, especially right now in life. There's a different way to move forward, and that involves more an intuitive side, more empathetic side, a more tender side to things where they can flow and move through the cracks. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, let me get back to this. This is crazy to me, bro. This is why I wanted to make this goddamn video. In the modern world, here we go, logos translates to being logical and using reason to examine everything, empirically and scientifically. I believe that's how you say that word, empirically and scientifically. Logos seek to find objective truths, the kind of definite explanations that can be proven with the use of observable facts and controlled experiments, literally science, right? Like, science is all about, if you can't prove it, it doesn't exist, right? That's why we have theories. That's why we have, hypotheses and things like that. If you cannot prove it, it does not exist. That's the world of science. And a lot of people have adopted that truth in their life. If you cannot see it, if you cannot prove it with objective truths and facts, it does not exist. But that is just simply not true. There is so much more to life than what the sensory eyes can see, what we can quote unquote prove and put into a box and label. There's way, 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 way more to life than what the goddamn scientific realm deems to be true. Here he goes. Mythos, on the other hand, approaches the world through less direct, more imaginative and intuitive means. The accounts of mythos are more narrative, tending towards subjective aspects of life, such as individual feelings and personal experiences. Logos tends to divide and analyze. It dissects and separates objects in order to distinguish one thing from another. It's a very masculine way of thinking, by the way. You can direct like logic with, masculine energy. That's for another story. And feminine is more like, putting the pieces together that kind of lie behind the scenes, like connecting things that you can't really see. That's more of a feminine aspect of thinking. And the world is run by, a patriarch. And so that's, you know, you can, you know, when you start to like look at things in a mythological sense, in an astrological sense, in a cosmology sense, and you'll start to see these archetypal patterns in life, and you know, like, it makes sense. Like, okay, especially the United States and even just the world, it's a patriarch. It's very, you know, it's run by the man, and you know, it's so that way pushes forward the logical way of thinking and things like that, pushes forward. Yeah, mythos seeks to uncover hidden connections between things and underlying patterns that shape the world from within. Logos seeks out which is demonstrable and objective, while mythos searches for that which is deeply subjective and even mysterious. Each offers a truth. I'm not bashing one or the other. I'm just saying I think it's very important to awaken to the side of what he's saying, mythos, and, you know, intuition, because we have become so caught up on logic and reasoning, and there's a time and place for that. I understand that, because if you were to just use intuition and you know, imagination, you would get fucking caught up in a whirlpool so quick, and you wouldn't be able to move forward. So the universe, the unification of the two is needed, not one overruling the other. Yeah, you know, the modern world finds it easy to account for methods of logos, much more difficult to account for the presence and persistence of mythos. And so now this is very interesting too. This author, Michael Meade, he's a very mythological guy. He loves myth, and he believes that it has an archetypal truth that keeps reoccurring in life, that shows up on an unconscious level, that has, you know, eternal truths, and they're timeless stories, right? And so the term mythological suggests that myth has its own logic, just as logic has its own story. I'm phrasing him right now. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee. Let me know if y'all find this interesting too, because like, I don't know if you like to like kind of read books to the camera. However, when something resonates with me this deeply, I feel the need to, like, this message needs to be spread. It needs to be heard. So, right, the term mythological suggests that myth has its own logic. The story of logic tends to take the form of history, right? Whereas myth would take us down the paths of mystery. So story of logic tends to take the form of history, myth, form of mystery, right? The light of logos would make everything clear and accounted for, whereas the paths of mythos leads towards the unseen, the unknown, and even the unbelievable, right? Oh my gosh, the unbelievable, that's impossible, that can't be real. Nah. Logos tends to be forward-thinking, even future-oriented. Mythos would remind us that the past is always within us, being hidden within us. Mythos connects not to the historical past, but the ancient images and primordial events that keep reoccurring. Logos connects to linear time and measurable space, while mythos favors timelessness and eternal presence. Logos might argue, whatever has a beginning must come to an end. The narrative intelligence of myth suggests that when a story comes to an end, it starts all over again. Where logic arrives at seemingly inevitable conclusions, myth finds hidden threads and multiple ways to spin the story ever onward, right? So it's just the story of the world, man, of creation. Like, it just keeps going. It don't seem like it's got an end, even though people think we're in the end times. I mean, it's just a, you know, like, destruction means creation. And so if what you see in the world right now is a lot of destruction, that needs to happen for a new way forward, for creation, a new form of creation. Creation does not just mean the beginning, you know, of time. Creation is constantly happening over and over again. And so when there's destruction in the world, you better believe on the other side of that, there's a new way forward. There's creation taking place. I just want to say that to remind us to not get overwhelmed with what's going on. So here we go, right? This is for all my logical people out there. I'm also a Virgo too, which they say is like very analytical and, you know, like sees all the little things, and, you know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I have that part of myself, and I use that when needed. But anyways, I feel like I've said that enough. We're gonna keep going. The power of logos is reason. The power of myth is imagination. As myth tends to employ images and symbols, using creative imagination to connect more deeply to life. Logos can deliver logical and factual, even provable knowledge of the world. However, logos cannot assist much when it comes to issues of human grief or love, or the need to find some unifying meaning that can bring diverse people together. Yeah, I think that's, you pretty much get the point of what I'm trying to say. Is at the end of the day, there's a lot more to life and the way of thinking than just logic and reasoning. I encourage you to be creative in your ways of thinking, to not look at the facts, but maybe look under the facts and see if you can find, you know, hidden things that connect things to each other, right? And I think that's just why I wanted to share it, because I've been feeling this on such a deep level. Like, everything's not about being in a box and having a label and you know, taking the rational steps. Sometimes that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And so you need to be creative in finding a solution. You need to be, you know, sometimes logic, and I feel like logic too, and he talks about this, is you know, also kind of just associated with like force, you know, because I don't know, it's just sometimes you have to move around the bush rather than go through it, I guess. And, you know, that's just what I'm trying to say right now, man. Just stay curious, use the imagination, and be creative in your way of thinking, man. Be creative in your way of thinking. Don't succumb to the world of science and facts and logic and reason. You know, be creative, man. Be creative. Use the imagination. Use the flowy like world of, you know, when the dream world, right? Like, it doesn't make sense, but it has meaning. It has something that it's trying to tell you. It doesn't make sense in the logical form, right? Dreams don't make fucking sense when you tell someone your dream, but you felt it resonated deeply within you, and it might have changed the way you look at things now. And so that's what I'm encouraging right now, is to lean more, or at least open up to the side into the realm of creativity and mythos, right? And so, yeah, that's all I really want to share, man. Thanks for watching the video, bro. I hope you guys enjoyed. All right, man. Peace.